Okay, this is the Algebra 1, Unit 1, Skill 12 lesson for greatest common factors. So the greatest common factor is kind of the opposite concept of a least common multiple. The greatest common factor is asking the question, what's the biggest number that is going to divide evenly into two other numbers? So what I mean by that, for example, is if I have 12 and let's do 42. Okay, so we want to know the greatest common factor. So the first thing we're going to do when we do this, should be kind of maybe clear from the name, is we are going to find the factors of these two numbers. So we're going to do what we've done in the past, which is we're going to break it down into parts. So we're going to do our little tree, and we're going to find the factors of 12. So if I do that, I see I've got my prime factors are 2 times 2 times 3. And then we go up and let's go and do 42. 42 is 6 times 7. You can always use a calculator to find these factors. Just divide things into 42. 2 is a good place to start if you're not sure. And you divide until you can't divide anymore. 7 is prime. 3 times 2. Those are prime. So 42 is 2 times 3 times 7. So I'm actually going to rewrite this one more time. So again, 12 is 2 times 2 times 3. And 42 is 2 times 3 times 7. So when we want to find the greatest common factor, we are looking for the thing that I can get out of the factors of those numbers that's the most. So I need to start with what they have in common. So I'm going to notice that there is a 2 in each, and there is a 3 in each. And then there's nothing else that these have in common, which is why it's called greatest common factor. So I'm going to take the numbers I've circled in purple, and I'm going to write them down. 2 times 3, and that gets me 6. So 6 is the greatest common factor of 12 and 42 because it's the biggest number that divides evenly into both 12 and 42. So that's how you do greatest common factor. You list the prime factors and then multiply the numbers they have in common. There's a bunch of examples in the lesson which are super helpful. Going down, this is exactly what you're doing. Find the GCF for the given numbers. Step 1 is where you do the prime factors. So you need to find the list amongst this list, find the one that is the list of prime factors, like the list I've written here, here, and here. That's your prime factors. That's what goes here. So 10 would be 2 times 5. That's pretty straightforward. Then the greatest common factor is what you get when you multiply the ones that are in common. So let's just finish this one out. 12, we already found in my example, was 2 times 2 times 3. So looking at this, I see that only 2 is in common. There's nothing else in common. So right away, that one's easy. 2 is the greatest common factor because it's the only number they share. If there were more than one, I would need to multiply them together. And so that's what you're doing for the rest of this lesson, is just finding greatest common factors. And then in starting with number 4, they want you to then use that to reduce the fraction to its lowest terms. So once you find the greatest common factor, you need to divide that fraction by the same number. Whatever this number is that you get on greatest common factor needs to go here and here, and divide the 36 and the 63 by that number, and you'll get a new fraction, and that new fraction is what goes in the lowest terms. And so that's pretty much it. So again, the last step on these is just to take the greatest common factor. Everything up to that point is the same. Divide 36 and 63 by that and find the lowest terms of that fraction.